What's going on, guys? Last night I went and checked out the latest film out of Blumhouse, The Woman in the Yard. The basic synopsis for the story here is you have this woman named Ramona who's recently injured her leg in a car crash that actually resulted in the death of her husband. She and her two children are at home when a mysterious woman in all black garb appears sitting down in a chair in their front yard. They have no idea who she is or how she got there or why she's there. And when they try to make contact with her, all they get is very vague messages and somewhat threatening remarks. And as the movie progresses, the woman begins to get closer and closer to the home. And with that, the level of fear within the family grows. And the main character, Ramona, starts to have some weird and strange experiences with her mental state. And it becomes very clear that this woman in black is much more dangerous than they originally thought. This movie is being directed by Jaume Colette Serra. I believe that's how you pronounce it. There's going to be some rough pronunciation in this review because there are some tough names in here. So I apologize in advance for anything I get wrong. I will try my best. He has given us movies in the past such as The Shallows, Orphan, and the House of Wax remake in 2005, all movies that I do enjoy, and so him being in the director's chair here was a reason to look forward to this movie. But as much as him being attached to this movie may excite me, this movie being a Blumhouse production makes me just as nervous. I have a very complicated relationship with Blumhouse Productions because it feels like for every one good movie you get, you're going to get about 4 or 5 mediocre to just flat out bad movies. And really that's all a result of their very simple business model of kind of just giving a lot of these movies very small budgets so that if they fail, you don't lose a lot of money, but if they succeed, you can churn a massive profit. It's a very simple formula that has turned out to be a very successful business model for Jason Blum. And even though it's been a really successful business plan for them, for us horror fans, it really opens the door for a lot of opportunities to be disappointed because you just don't know what you're going to get. And I can't even recommend that you do your due diligence and research the movie and check out the trailers because Blumhouse specifically, I really try to avoid their trailers as much as possible because if you don't know, Jason Blum has come out and said that his numbers show that the more he shows in their film's trailers, the more likely people are to come to see it. They want to know exactly what they're getting. So if you're someone that likes to go into movies blind like I do typically, please do not watch trailers, especially trailers coming out of Blumhouse because they will for sure 100% show you way too much because it has proven on the number side of things that that is most effective for them. So with all that being said, going into The Woman in the Yard, I was not particularly excited to check out this film because I just cannot allow myself to get excited for a Blumhouse project anymore. And that's sad, but that's just where I'm at with them. I just have no way of knowing what I'm going to get out of a movie of theirs. But there was some intrigue there because I actually had a lot of friends tell me they were excited to hear my thoughts on this movie. So it's clear, at least within my inner circle, there is some buzz surrounding this film. But did Blumhouse actually end up delivering something worthwhile here, or was it just another one of their bland, boring, mediocre projects? Let's get into that. But before we do that, I'd like to ask that while you're here, go ahead and give the video a like and subscribe to the channel as well. Get down in the comments below and tell me what your thoughts are on The Woman in the Yard. Is it a movie you're excited to check out? If you've already seen it, what did you think about it? Also, tell me what you think about movies out of Blumhouse in general. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Now let's get to the review. Starting with the positives, and I think you get a really strong lead performance from Danielle Deadwyler here. She's not someone I'm overly familiar with. I know I saw her in a few episodes of the Watchmen series that was on HBO a few years ago, and I know recently she was in the movie Till. I did not get a chance to check that out, but I heard she was really good in it. I know she didn't get nominated, but there was some Oscar buzz surrounding her for that film. So I knew of her as being a very capable actress going in, and I definitely think she showed that in this movie. She's very convincing as this woman who is still very clearly struggling with the recent loss of her husband, but she has to put on a strong face in order to take care of her 2 children. And in this performance, she really gets that feeling of grief and resilience across very effectively, and it's just another example to me of an actor and actress really showcasing their talents in a horror movie that I feel doesn't get enough credit as it should. But I think the biggest standout in this movie is the character of the woman themselves, played by Akwui Okpakwasili. I'm sorry, there's no shot that I'm pronouncing that right, but I've watched 100 videos on how to pronounce this name, and that seems to be the best I can get. So again, apologies if that's not right. She definitely deserves for me to pronounce her name right because she was really, really good in this movie. What I liked about her so much in this movie is that her tone of voice and facial expressions somehow managed to both be soft and fierce. But I think what really puts this character over for me is the physical performance that she gives. And it makes a lot of sense because looking into her a little bit, she has a background in dance, and it was very clear that she was able to incorporate that into this performance. Just like with any good dance performance, it felt like every motion and move was made with intent. Everything is done with a purpose. There's no wasted screen time with her. And so this performance that she gives really brought this character and made it stand out to me, and really brought the intimidation factor that the character needed in this film. In terms of scares, her character is what really provides all of them to this movie. And it's not even really through jump scares, though there are a couple in this movie. Just her standing in a corner or simply walking around is enough to kind of get me on the edge of my seat at some moments in this movie. And it's all through her performance, because she's so intimidating yet also gracious, and she really makes this character what it is. And she was by far the biggest standout while I was watching this movie. And even outside of the performance, I also just enjoyed what they did with this character as a whole and the reveals that are made about the character throughout the movie. I won't get into specifics, but I think what they do with her is very well done. It may be a little predictable and something you've seen before, but I think it's done well enough that I can forgive that. And so the said woman in said yard was by far the best part of this film, in my opinion. Moving on to the mixed category of this review, and the one thing that I am mixed on is involving the ending of this movie. I'm not going to give away the ending. This is going to stay completely spoiler free, but there are some things about it that I'm either a little confused on or just simply flat out don't agree with or don't get. It felt like to me this movie wanted its ending to be this open for interpretation, ambiguous ending, and I just don't feel like it was that. To me, it felt pretty definitive, and so they either made one possibility too clear for the other possibilities to enter my brain, or I'm the idiot and I'm just not seeing these dots that can be connected like maybe other people will. So it's going in the mix, because I did enjoy the ending of this movie, but if it was supposed to be this big, ambiguous, open for interpretation ending, I think they failed at that. But if it was supposed to be definitive and clear, this is all a moot point. So I guess it will be up to you when you see it. So I'm gonna put it in the mix and not the negative, because maybe it could be a different experience for other people seeing the movie. Getting into the negatives now, and I would say what this movie's biggest flaw is that honestly, I found it to be quite boring. It does a few things well, but it fails to do anything special or stand out, so it ends up being a movie that I struggle to stay invested in from beginning to end. Grief and survivor's guilt are themes that have been explored in a ton of movies. I would say in the horror genre specifically, Hereditary is probably the most recent shining example of that, but I don't feel like this movie does anything interesting with that subject matter outside of the character of the woman. These are deep subjects and there's a lot that can be done with them, but it felt like this film left a lot on the table. When watching a movie that's dealing with these kind of things, even a horror movie, I feel like my emotions should be getting pulled and grabbed at, and there was never a moment in this movie that I feel got an emotional response out of me. And so if you're dealing with this subject matter and that's not happening, I think that means you're not doing a good job with it. One last thing I want to mention here in the negatives, and that is that the character of the son in this movie I found to be really annoying. I'm someone who doesn't really like kids all that much, to be honest with you, especially in horror movies. They tend to really annoy me and kind of drag movies down. There's movies like The Babadook who are like all-time classics that I could never rewatch again and really hate because of the child in that movie. And that's kind of how I felt watching this movie. On the character side of things, he is a complete brat and asshole. He clearly could not care less that his mom is still dealing with the loss of her husband and his father. And then I didn't enjoy him on the performance side either. And I don't mean to slam a young actor. I know they're still learning and growing, and I hope he has a bright future ahead of him. But in terms of this film, I just really was not a big fan of it. And so as someone who is already hesitant and nervous when kids are in horror movies, this is another example of kids in a movie really bringing it down for me. Not that it ruins the movie. There are other flaws with this movie, but it's something I have to point out. And if that rubs you the wrong way, I'm sorry. But this is my review, and I just don't like kids. What can I say?
Kids suck.
So there you guys have it. Those are my thoughts on The Woman in the Yard. I wish I could have liked this one a little bit more, but it definitely wasn't a dumpster fire or one of Blumhouse Productions' worst movies. It just ended up being one of their more mediocre ones. For the score, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. It's definitely more of a wait and stream it kind of movie, in my opinion. I wouldn't recommend going to the theater and throwing a bunch of money at it. But also, if you're someone that likes to go see horror movies in theaters because you like the loud sounds and jump scares, there's really not a whole lot of that in this movie. And so I don't think your experience in terms of seeing it in a theater versus seeing it at home is going to differ all too much. But get down in the comments, guys, and let me know what your thoughts are on The Woman in the Yard. If you've seen it, did you like it? If you haven't, are you looking forward to it? Also, give me all your thoughts on just Blumhouse movies in general in terms of their varying quality. I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions. Also, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel as well. And I'll see you guys in the next movie review. Peace.